All right. Hello, good evening. My name is Ho Garland, a long range planning supervisor. I really appreciate that you guys came tonight. Some of you were here on March 31st, on March 30, when I was announcing about this meeting. And ever since then, we actually got a lot of email from you about a lot of thought of the park and a lot of love and care and your attention. So we've been actually thinking a lot about this park, how we can improve this park. So we really appreciate that. So you will see some of the thoughts we put it together, but this is like the first community meeting. So your feedback about our initial thoughts will be very critical today. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting and it will be recorded. I just wanted to note on that. And today's recording will be posted in our website. You should be able to see it. So in case your friend or family who couldn't join tonight, if you could share that recording, we do really appreciate it as well. And some of you who is actually joining this meeting online, if you can put your chat or comment or questions in the Q&A box, I'll be facilitating Q&A with that. Otherwise, I think without further ado, I will give a microphone for the project manager, Rachel Newhouse. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And again, welcome. We really appreciate you all taking the time to come out with us tonight. And here's the agenda for this evening. We'll go through some background about this project, how it came about. We will talk about the context of this site, where it sits next to, things in your community like the Purple Line, the future park, Lyttonsville Park, that you've all been hearing more about. And then we'll talk about how we determine new amenity needs. We will show you sort of a concept idea of where we think new amenities could fit. And then we'll talk about the project and outreach timeline from tonight leading forward. And then we'll have time for question and answers. And when we talk about the existing site, we'll be pointing out some of the reasons why this project is starting, some of the renovations to courts and trails and things like that. So we'll introduce all of our team. There's a lot of people working on this. I'm Rachel Newhouse. You met Ho Garland. We'll also be hearing from Christy Kabadi tonight. She is the site planner working on some of the design concepts. Bob Green, who is our senior ADA compliance project manager, is doing a lot of the work on the trails to make sure that they are accessible. We have Todd Holmes, who will be the park manager, and he'll be joining us probably on our June 3rd site visit. I forgot to mention Michelle Nelson. She's online. Some of these people are online. They're not here with us tonight, but Michelle Nelson does our community garden program. And finally, Michelle Ramirez, you probably have all emailed her and talked to her on the phone. She's done a great job with our public outreach for this project. So a lot of people have been saying, well, why are you guys starting on this park renovation now? What has spurred this park project? And the big thing is that this park was included in a Maryland state bond request. And it was a request that was done by the delegates Jared Solomon, Al Carr, Emily Steady, and Senator Jeff Wallstreicher. So they took it upon themselves to apply for the bond. Thanks to their efforts, they got $800,000 for this park. And that's just fantastic. And we all need to thank them somehow. If you see them in your community, if you don't tweet them, it's a big deal. So we can't thank them more anymore. But so the idea is to use that $800,000 to renovate some of the existing amenities. And you can see in the pictures, these are the existing tennis courts. see how they're just wearing away. They're older. There's cracks in the basketball court. You know, the trails, you all know this. They get water in them, they stink, they're cracking. And something we'll talk about tonight is the lower parking lot. And it's really not configured very well. It's a lot of pavement and impervious infrastructure, and we think we can do better. So we'll be talking about how we can possibly do better with that parking lot. So what are the visions for this park? We look at this park, it's an amazing park, a place where the neighborhood can enjoy active recreation outside, not just inside. Social connections. You have a very social community. You all know each other, you tend to do things together, and we want to do amenities that help that. And just the beauty of the natural park setting, the gigantic trees, the rolling lawns, it's just fabulous. So we love this park for those reasons as well. We want to update the aging infrastructure, such as the trails and the court. We want to talk about providing new amenities that fill in a gap where you currently don't have these amenities within walking distance of your neighborhood. We want to provide some social gathering opportunities, and then, of course, access to all ages and abilities. So here's a context map. You can see with the little red star, that's where we are tonight, Rosemary, Hills-Lyttonsville Local Park. And it's within a quarter mile of the new park that's still being called the Lyttonsville Area Future Neighborhood Park. These projects are not competing with each other. That project is on its own separate timeline and funding, and we are on our own separate timeline and funding, but they are nearby and they're really fabulous amenities coming to you soon. This park is also, right adjacent to the Purple Line, and you can just see a number of the other parks that are within the area. And then we all know that in the existing site, we have the rec center, we have 2 tennis courts, 1.5 basketball courts, because one is full size, one is half size, the soccer field, the softball field, the 2 playgrounds on the opposite ends of the park, the walking trails all throughout, and then the 2 parking lots. And then these are just some pictures. Of course, we had to have the big, beautiful tree next to the courts, of course, right? And then just other parts of the park. Again, you all are very familiar with it, but, we love sort of taking a walking tour through the park and looking at, just ways people access the park, where they park, So let's talk about how we determine new amenity needs. I was mentioning to some of you as you came in, we do something called a level of service analysis. So what we do is we look at the walk shed, which is a half-mile walk shed surrounding the park. Now, within that walk shed, there are 5,088 people currently. In the bike shed, which is a 1.5-mile shed around the park, there are 48,552 people. And then in the drive shed, which is 3 miles, we have 211,913 people. Now, the reason these numbers are important to us is because we have calculated level of service, how many amenities for all the amenities that we consider in parks per person. So, people should have, let's say, 1 tennis court for every 4,000 people. That's an example. And what we determined in doing this analysis for this park is that there are some gaps in service for walk. Now we're looking all at walk to, because we think walking is an important thing to be able to walk to an amenity. Now, of course, you could drive to some of these other things, but there is no dog park you can walk to. There are no pickleball courts, picnic shelters, community gardens, those were the primary ones. The other ones that had a little more service, but were not as lacking, were the volleyball courts, baseball fields, small and medium rectangular fields, and skate park. So this gives us, park planners and designers, sort of a menu of things to consider when doing park renovations and adding new amenities. So we have been hearing from people after Ho Jung was at the last meeting, and people were saying, well, yeah, I want a dog park in this area. We need a dog park. And, we were like, really? Well, how much dog demand is there? So we did this map. It turns out that there's dogs allowed in a lot of the residents around this park. The only ones where they're not allowed is the Friendly Garden apartments and the Barnington apartments. Otherwise, people can own dogs. So there's more of a demand than we all really realize. We did a countywide dog park suitability study back in 2019. And this came up as a possible site, but not a priority site. But then we also just wanted to look at the dog demand as of today and who could actually own a dog. So that was very interesting for us. So we developed something we call, from that whole menu of things where we level of service demand, we put together a preliminary program of requirements where we say, okay, what can we fit? What can we do in this park? Because not every amenity can fit in every park. Not every amenity can fit in this park. Even though it's a large park, there's a lot of natural area and trees and things we just want to protect and keep. So we said, okay, of all those lists of things that we could put there, let's consider pickleball courts. We know that there is a very active program in the rec center here. I mean, people play all the time. It's very social. It's very popular. The soccer courts. So soccer field is used all the time. A soccer court is basically it's almost the size of a basketball court where you play soccer, and it enables you to keep up your skills. Many soccer organizations call it futsal. So they play a game of futsal on these soccer courts. The dog park, we already mentioned, we are considering it. We also saw a lacking of amenities for picnic shelters. So a picnic shelter is something that you don't have. There aren't many in the area. And last but not least, the community garden. So again, this is kind of, we pulled out of that menu all these potential new amenities that we think could be considered for this park. And I'm going to turn it over to Christy Kabati, who is our site planner supervisor, to talk to you how some of these improvements can happen and the amenities can fit. So thanks.
Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all here. I have done many community meetings since the beginning of COVID, but none in person. So I'm just really glad to be here tonight. Thank you. So for the most part, we're going to be concentrating our efforts on new amenities in one main area of the park, and I'll get to that in a minute. But before we got to that, we recognize that we need to improve pathways through the park. So to that end, we are planning to repair damaged paths and, as much as possible, provide accessible routes that comply with the American Disabilities Act recommendations. So this is our preliminary plan for those routes. We're still working through it a little bit. The pink line you see around the community center is going to be pathway improvements for accessibility that will be done by the community center and the staff of the dark blue pathways. Those will be new and improved accessible routes through the park. And the ones that are dashed, those are going to be, those are pathways that are existing, that are in decent condition and remain as they are. So again, this is a preliminary proposal, but we just wanted to let you know that we are working on this now and thinking through the best ways to improve the path network in the park. So as Rachel talked about earlier, our primary goals for the project are updating the aging amenities and providing new active recreation opportunities for the community. So we've been looking at the park quite a bit to understand where we can get the most efficient and cost-effective project completed to meet those. So this area that's on screen now with the existing courts and the parking lot near Lyttonsville Road provides a great opportunity for upgrading the facilities and providing new ones. So we decided that we could probably improve the efficiency of the parking lot to reduce its paved area. I think Rachel talked about that before, without reducing parking spaces significantly. So currently in this lower parking lot, there are about 59, I think they're exactly 59 parking spaces. We're looking at converting that to potentially 40 to 50 parking spaces and reclaiming some of this area for new. So you can see in this drawing how that might work. This is a preliminary concept sketch just to kind of show the general areas that we're starting to think about. Let me see if I can get this so that people online can see too. There's the cursor. I hope you all can see that, but this is the edge of the existing parking area right now. So we're looking at reducing the pavement in for this area. And we'll be able to increase the efficiency of the parking lot. The way it's laid out right now is just, there's a lot of pavement and not a lot of parking. Yes.
Just slow down.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Let's see here. The area in blue shown on the plan are the existing tennis courts. There are currently 2 tennis courts, and we know we're going to work on improving those courts, but this project could give us the opportunity to add a new court type. So Rachel talked about the amenity needs. So those are some of the things that we're going to be considering and asking you. The area in orange is the area that we can sort of reclaim from the existing parking lot and gives us the space for potentially more court improvements and adding new amenities. Yes. Yes. This is the area of the existing basketball court. So somebody in the audience in person asked where are the existing basketball courts. They're in this area. So the reason that they're not delineated in this plan right now is because we have the opportunity to sort of reconfigure things in this orange area. And so we know that basketball is important to the community center too, but they may not end up in exactly the same place, although the tennis courts probably will.
1 minute.
Yes.
25 years ago, when they built that lower parking lot, it became a gigantic underground cistern. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. So somebody from the audience asked about a cistern that's underneath the parking lot, and that was constructed 25 years ago. So we are familiar with that infrastructure, and we realize that's there. Part of our improvements, as you can also see on the plan, are going to be stormwater improvements. And so we will likely be, we're still working through all the logistics of this, but we will likely be converting that underground stormwater into surface stormwater treatment.
It had rocks in there the size of Volkswagen.
Oh, there were rocks in there the size of Volkswagens in the cistern.
The entire thing is filled with gigantic rocks.
Yeah.
All the block.
Okay.
The island was constructed in order to put the blacktop over the deep rock river.
Okay.
And none of it is connected to a storage system. It doesn't drain anywhere. It's so in, it never worked. It's filled with trash.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the information. So we're hearing that this underground cistern is filled with rocks and that it doesn't drain to a storm sewer and that it's not working. Did I reflect that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm repeating things for the audience who's online. So that's why if it sounds like I'm repeating what you're saying, I actually. Okay, so thank you for that. Yes, there are some infrastructural challenges here, and we are aware of that. So let me see, where was I? One of the other things we know is kind of lacking in this area right now is shade. So we'll be looking at providing that as tree canopy or potentially shelters, shade shelters. And I'm going to go ahead to the next slide. So Rachel talked a little bit about our needs assessment. Yes.
Does that include putting more shade on the playground too?
We're not looking at any playground renovations right now, but we really appreciate your comments. So if you could tell us in the online survey what your thoughts are, that would be really helpful. So let me go back to this first. This plan here is where we're looking at doing primary improvements for the park at this time. We have an online survey where we're hoping to get your feedback. And at the front desk up there, there's a QR code. You can go ahead and scan the QR code and fill out the survey tonight. We'll also give you the website where it's located and the project website. So you'll be able to access that survey. And we are looking for feedback. There's like an open question where you can write your thoughts, and we'll really need that information. So I'm going to keep going here though while we're on it. So Rachel talked about our needs assessment. We know that we're going to be renovating the courts. We know right now there are currently the 1.5 basketball courts. We've got 2 tennis courts. One of the things that's a big need in the county are soccer courts. And we know that pickleball is a growing interest in the county too. So we're going to be looking at all sports for potential conversion and upgrade. So this is one of the things we'd like to talk to the community about, ask you all about. Is what kind of courts would you like to see out there? So that's part of this survey. You can tell us tonight. You can fill in the survey, and we are really interested to hear. Then potential additional amenities in this area include a new dog park, and Rachel talked about our understanding of the needs there. New community garden and potentially new gathering areas with pavilions and shade trees. The sad thing is we can't fit in everything. So we are looking for your feedback on what you'd like to see in this park, in this area. And we are coming back on June 3rd to meet with everybody in the park. And at that time, we're hoping to gather the information that we've gotten from this meeting and from the online survey and have a little bit more precise ideas for what's going to happen in this amenity area. So I'm just going to go back to the diagram again. And so we'll bring you back a little bit more information on June 3rd. So we hope you can join us in the park on that day.
Question. If one or more people in here are opposed to one or more of those things that you were thinking about, you all make the decision. How would a community person challenge that?
Okay, so the question was if some people or a group of people or even one person are opposed to any of the things that we are proposing, how can they challenge it, right? Okay, so I think the answer to that is, first of all, tell us your information now. We're trying to come to you really early in this process. And so please give us your feedback. That's the number one way. You know, at some point we will be moving forward with the project, and having heard what you said will be the power. That's where you have the power is now to tell.
Is this to ask you a question?
Not yet. We're getting close. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about what these amenities could potentially look like. Again, these are all potential amenities, and we're thinking through how this is going to go. The courts on the bottom are a recently installed project in Montgomery County at Silver Spring Intermediate Park, not too far from here. On the left is a soccer court, and on the right is a tennis court. It also has pickleball striping. This has been a really successful project for us and a good model for how this can work. So this could be a similar situation to the existing tennis courts here. On the top left, we're showing pictures of dedicated pickleball courts. So those are courts that are specifically built for pickleball. And then, of course, on the top right is a refurbished basketball court. And in this area, we'll have limited space. So if there's going to be a dog park, it would be more of what we're calling a dog run of a smaller scale. And it would have character similar to these. Yes.
It's inside where the parking lot is now.
Yes, it would be in that area that was orange in the drawing. Yes. A handball court? Do you mean like team handball? Okay. So somebody in the audience is asking about handball. We do have handball courts. I'm not sure what our level of service is right now off the top of my head in the area, but we have several handball courts in the area. But if that's something you're interested in seeing, please fill out the survey. And of course, you can tell us tonight too. So for a community garden, this is an example of what that could potentially look like in a small space like this, adjacent to courts. Normally our gardens have individual beds that can be rented. And then as we provide these new amenities, we'll be thinking about gathering areas with pavilions, potentially or a picnic shelter, so that people can have a little bit of shade and a place to enjoy their time at the park. So one other thing we're thinking about is in providing these new amenities, it would be nice to be able to extend hours for recreation, especially during the dark months. So this diagram is showing the existing lights in the parking lot. They are shown in yellow here. I hope you can see those okay. And then this diagram is showing where we might propose additional lighting if we light the court areas and the new amenities. So an amenity like a dog park, we often get requests for lighting because people like to come after work with their dogs to the dog park. An amenity like basketball could benefit from lighting so people could play after dark. Our hours generally end about 10 p.m. So that's probably what we would be looking at here. Again, this is something that we want to hear from you about. This is a question in our survey. This is a good candidate project for lighting. So please let us know your thoughts. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Rachel. We just have a couple more slides here to talk about project timeline and a couple other things, and then we will open it up for questions.
Thanks, Christy. So here we are in the spring of 2023. We're doing the project visioning with you all. We talked about the program analysis that we've done to come up with a menu of amenities, the program for the park. And this is our public outreach time. So we're out talking to you all. We're asking for your help to help us define what this park could look like in the future. And we expect that outreach to go into the fall of 2023 when we have heard from you all. The surveys have all been filled out. People have had time to email us, call us, and then there will be a preferred design that has come out of all the discussion. And that preferred design will then go into a detailed design and engineering. It'll be permitted. That takes about a year to do that work. And then the fall of 2024, we anticipate this park to begin construction. The construction would then last about a year. So this is the timeline as we see it right now. And the outreach is the most important thing to us, really. Talking to you all tonight, we talked about the fact that there is a website that has a survey on it It's live tonight. So it's going to ask you some questions. How do you use the park? Blah, blah, blah. What amenities would you prefer? On June 3rd, we will be back at this site to walk around the park with people. Christy will have some more concepts, some ideas about, how, the different courts could lay out, what could fit, maybe options with community garden, maybe not. She'll have some ideas for you all to look at. And then again, we will want people to go back to that survey and say, oh, I like this, concept much better than I like this. So that's how we are going to get all your input. And we have the ability to let you all know how people are selecting. It won't have names on it, but it'll say, oh, 57% selected concept A over concept B. So you will see that information. So here's the websites. If I'm going to leave it all up so you guys can take a picture of the screen. You want to, go there. And as was mentioned, we have a QR code up here if you want to use your phone to access the survey. The survey is also. So we are really looking forward to hearing from you all. Thank you. Here is my email address, my phone number. Please call me. A number of you already have. I feel like I'm getting to be part of the community, which is fabulous. This presentation will be posted on the website. And then just some other information because of the kinds of questions we've been hearing. We have our park maintenance and customer service line, which the number's there, 301-495-2595, and the email. Anytime you have concerns about this park, there's a general just concern number for our park police. But for emergencies, you would definitely want to call 301-949-3010 for our park police to show up to an emergency. So that's it for our presentation, and we are ready to take questions. We are going to ask that you come up to the microphone because that way people at home can also hear your question and we don't have to keep repeating.
Well, I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
After the question, then I'd like to be able to.
You can comment right now. Comments are fine too.
Could you put that back on?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. My name is Loretta Argret, and this park is very important to me and many of us here in this room. I know, otherwise you would not be here. My husband and I moved to this community in 1965. So I've been here a long time. And that park has been such a wonderful part of the life of this community. And I'll say this, but I don't want to turn you off, but what your design is doing is turning it into a recreation park. Rather than, I believe in having things for people to play. I'm not that, but it sounds like it's not a park anymore. Most of us, but maybe not all, like to go for a walk in the park if if you're sad. It's a beautiful place with the rolling hills, and you can watch the dogs when people walk their dogs. You meet your neighbors that you don't know or you didn't know. And the reason the park has been so important for us as a community, and it's unfortunate the county has not really let people be more aware of it. This is one of the communities in the United States where a group of people of different races, different ethnicities, different religions, and we have lived, and also different economic groups. We have lived together and worked together to make this a wonderful place to live. That park
has been a key thing that kept us all together, because when you go walking in the park, you meet somebody you didn't know, and people will smile, and then you start talking. I think what you're proposing is too much that will take away from the rolling hills. I mean, that's just, it will, I will find that, let's say an older person was having a kind of bad day and just wanted to be peaceful and wanted to take a walk. They won't come walking, I don't think, given the way you describe your design. Or a mother with a baby and a 3 and a 4-year-old who I see walking, going into the park, and if the little 3 or 4-year-old may be walking behind them in front, and they're happy. Mothers, I've actually seen they must have been a mother's group, because one morning, about 6 to 8 mothers came with their kids. I live right across the street from the park. My windows above my 6, so I spent a lot of time looking at people. And they just spread blankets. They were bringing the kids out for, a morning to play. Now, for me, I thought that was wonderful. So we need to have this park be appealing to old people like me, to younger people, and then think about, and also people of all economic groups. We do have that in this community. Not everybody can go and pay a membership fee for a swimming pool or for a country club, or all of that. So we need to have a park with some of the things that you described. But I think you'll take away a lot of the green space, and it won't be pretty anymore. I wouldn't want to go walking in it, because I would, maybe I would to see the kids play, but if I'm in a bad mood or having a bad day, you walk in this park, look around, and you just start feeling happy. It's so beautiful. So there's a difference for me in a park, the way I conceptually thought about it. Now, you don't know this, but at one point, like when we moved there were lots of trees over there, and it was gorgeous. I was a little nervous because the kids would go over there and play, but it was safe. So I would like old people to be able to decide to go for a walk in the park. Now, if you have some of that stuff there, they'd like to watch the kids. But if you got a lot of it, people won't. And then we have people of different languages who speak different language. And now we have learned to communicate. So, and the other thing, and this is what I really feel strong my back, and then y'all can just tell me to shut up. But think about what this 4 years has been like of COVID. And think, what's been happening in so many communities, because the teenagers particularly are stressed. They're doing, some of them are, you've heard about the suicides and all of that. But our teenagers now can go for a walk in the park, or they can take a scooter and ride, or they can meet a friend. I've actually seen a young man and a young woman, I think maybe high school or college, but they will come and lay down on the grass, and they just talking perfectly good. But it makes me smile. I mean, it's so pretty. They are out there able to, to talk. We need to have a place for everybody, not just for some people, where everybody will feel like they would like to do it. Now, that's all I really want to say, I guess. Maybe I need to stop. But anyway, I really am opposed to the dog park. And I'm not saying that. You might say, well, she never had a dog. That's not true. With the kids, when we moved here, I began to realize that it would be nice if we had a pet for our children. So I did the research, and I found a Scottish Terrier. And that Scottish Terrier was not really a dog, it was part of the family. And unfortunately for me, the dog didn't live as long as I wanted it to, but by the time my daughter went from first grade to college, the vet told me the dog was sick and that he had. I was devastated. So I know a dog is like your family, but it's quiet over there too. I don't think putting a dog park there is going to enhance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That was really helpful. And I want to just go back to one of these diagrams. And hopefully I can put your mind at ease a little bit. So this this drawing shows the entire park. Over here is Lyttonsville Road. I'm actually going to walk up so that you can see better. Up here's Lyttonsville Road. Here's where we are right now in the community center. All right, I'm supposed to take the microphone with me. Sorry, everybody. So up here is Lyttonsville Road. We're here right now inside the community center. This whole area of the park with the baseball field and the soccer field and the rolling hills, we're actually not proposing to do very much work over there at all. The only proposal right now that we have for this part of the park, this rolling hill part of the park, is improving the pathways so that they are accessible and that we have the opportunity to repair any of the infrastructure there. But the majority of the work that we are proposing is going to happen down by the tennis courts and the parking lot in this area here and the basketball courts. So I hope that helps a little bit. I'm not sure I described that very clearly.
Now, will there be any new parking at all, or you'll just take away this, but will there be any added parking?
We're not proposing to add parking. We understand that that lower parking lot does get filled up when there are games and events in the community center. So we're also not proposing to take away very much parking at all, but we're not going to be adding parking.
Are you going to take away this whole lot here?
No, we're proposing to take away potentially 8 spaces.
Is it going to be the area over here where there's, I cross the street and Claridge House.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has observed this. Okay. I live across the street at Claridge House on the 12th floor facing this way. I have been awakened on multiple nights, once about 1:30 in the morning, and there are vehicles doing wheelies over here in this parking lot, like you can't imagine. I have called the non-emergency park line, I bet at least a dozen times in the last 2 years, and have never seen a police officer show up. Once it was egregious. I mean, there were some kids with a little motorcycle going all over the property, going through, I mean, like they were cutting in front of little 5-year-olds playing soccer or practice. The coach was shocked. Anyway, I'm concerned that the more you add to this area, the more there's going to be a need for police. And at this point, I would like to just add, we need a greater police presence here. And the more you add, I think the worse we're going to need it. And I don't mean to be negative, but there is no drinking of alcohol allowed in this park. If you walk it as much as I do, there's alcohol everywhere. And, you know, there's soccer games going on and they come with mixed drinks. People come they come on a Sunday afternoon. They're here during the week having lunch and drinking alcohol. Along with that, there really is need for bilingual signage so people understand those issues, that you can't have alcohol in the park. You do not take motorcycles on the field, all those things. And I have asked for bilingual language signs and have been told we can't do that. The only other thing I would suggest is if you're going to add lights in this neighborhood, I hope you have a very long conversation with the people who live in that complex, not us, because we're irrelevant. But the people who live back there, I've seen these kinds of lights. They could be very, very, very difficult for people, little babies or little kids, and you have lights till 10 o'clock at night, and it's lights out much earlier than that. So that's what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you. How about you come up and ask your question? Or?
Just real quickly, are those slides going to be made available in the whole presentation that we can download, like on the website?
They will be on the website, yes. Now, can you download them off the website?
Recording is going to be live, most likely tomorrow afternoon.
The recording will be live. I can send them to you. Why don't you give me your email tonight?
Sign up sheet.
Okay. Sure, yeah. Yeah. Come on up.
So I'd actually like to piggyback on what she said.
Right. I'm Susan now.
Okay. Hi, Susan. I'd like to piggyback on what you said. I've lived here almost my entire life, and I'm almost 60 years old. Okay. I grew up in this neighborhood. I've gone to this park since I was little. Over the last couple of years, before COVID, it was dirty, gross, trash everywhere. When we had COVID and the soccer fields and everything were closed, the park was very clean. Now that COVID's over, it's gone back to being dirty. Trash cans are overflowing and they need to be emptied more often than they are. I shouldn't be walking with my dog to pick up other people's trash. I'm concerned that if we're going to add some extra amenities, it's going to invite people from outside of the neighborhood. I believe that people inside the neighborhood do a pretty good job at picking up the garbage and keeping it clean. But when you have the light, it's going to invite more people. You add the extra soccer court, it's going to invite a lot of outsiders. And this neighborhood park is not going to be safe. And that concerns me. Yes, I'm a dog owner. I'm not for the dog at all. Okay. Yeah, I like to have my dog running around, but my dog's been attacked by other dogs. So I keep my dog on a leash. I don't believe in letting the dogs run free. So I'm very opposed to it. Okay. Keep the park safe, keep the park clean, and don't invite the extra people in here for a mess. So you guys should come out here on a Monday morning and see what it looks like after this being used. Amen.
Okay, so I see, you want to come on up? Question? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eva Santorini. I've lived around the corner on Sunvale since 1988, so 33 plus years. COVID, I think, really brought the value of this park home to everyone. It was a lifesaver, and I think it still is. Before we talk about any amenities, I really like to make the point that the maintenance of this park needs to be improved on. I think some of these issues, not just the trash pickup, not just not just specific things, it's everything. I've sent pictures, they haven't seen them yet, but they should document what needs to be improved on. Some of your own plantings need to be cared for better. The ADA walkways, I think, have been addressed. I would like to see, I think we should all be able to see what the repairs, the maintenance, and just the overall care of this community park will cost, so that we can determine by documentation, by assessment, what is left for the amenities. I think we'll all be open. I think we're all here to listen but we want to be listened to too. I think that's what I've been hearing from some of the speakers here. I had a very visceral reaction when you described how the amenities are brought to the table, the walking distance, biking distance, the car distance. I think all of us here feel very, very strong. This is our park, and that our voices should be heard very clearly. I think we're very open, but we are also very protective of our park. We don't want too many changes. I think that's been maybe a thread throughout. And I'd like to also speak up for those who don't come to these meetings, for the teenager, for those who don't speak, for those who don't speak, for the Afghan refugee families who are here, who are picking up from us what this means to all of us. We have shared, I don't speak Afghan, I never will, but I can share a smile. I can share maybe a little guidance. No, don't do this. Maybe try this. We are trying to educate, we're trying to share. We want to share this park, but I feel already a little bit that we are being told what will come. And I don't. So we will, I think everybody here will be glad to take the survey, will speak up, are speaking up, but our say is important. And that's why we're here. And we do thank you for all the work that goes into this. We have a voice and we will use it.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a few questions from the online audience.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that because there are some questions piling up online, I'll probably see it. So yes, I think if there is a common question and comment about the trash. We're definitely aware that even like after I came here on March 30, the majority email actually we've got is about the maintenance issues. So we're fully aware that is like the majority of the concern. So what we've done is actually you can't really see, but Todd Holm is the regional park manager. So we've been in communication with him. So he was already planning some one-time cleanup and also in communication with the carpenters, you know, for some of the items that need to be addressed. So he's on board with that. He's you know, this park is definitely on his attention.
Response on me for 20 years that it's going to happen, that it's going to happen. Let's cut that out. Okay, get it done. That's the point you're being told.
Let's be respectful, please.
Yeah, we will be. How about them be respectful to us in the park?
So thank you. Yeah, so Todd Holm is going to be here on the 3rd. We are going to be intentionally designating some of the time to walk through the park to address those issues or to hear about it more in detail. So we're fully aware. We'd like to have more communication with you all that, and we definitely respect that there's ongoing concern about it. So that is something that I wanted to share. And then actually at the end of this meeting, at the end of this slide, a lot of you already took a picture, but that's our customer service line. The reason why we're providing customer service line instead of, you know, Todd's number is, you know, these days, data is very important. We are collecting data. That way we can log in how many questions and comment is coming about the trash, the concern and things like that. So that way we can keep track and then address those with the you know, form data. So I just want to make sure that there is definitely a person behind that. Thank you. So showing that who is Todd Holm will be here in person, and he's actually listening. Just so you know. So I just want to point that out. The other thing is there was some concern about the pickleball noise, and that is something that we've been actually exploring and addressing for the last 4 or 5 years. We increased the pickleball from, you know, a couple of, you know, courts to up to 75, about to be 80 as of right now, and some place where there's noise concern, where there's no noise concern with the surrounding neighbors. We're actually dedicating like East Montgomery Park as the dedicated pickleball court to people to be able to be having lots of noise and all that. And whenever we are planning these kind of a pickleball court, we definitely consider the distance and, you know, noise barriers and things like that. So we've been hammered about that. So we're fully aware. We had a lot of lessons learned. So trust us that we are fully on board about noise concerns. The other thing is, I just wanted to also note that since some of you were talking about multi-generational and be able to interact with the younger folks, there's interesting comments. So I just wanted to share that. This anonymous person saying that most of the options are oriented toward older residents. There are a tremendous number of young people, middle school, high school kids who could use amenities such as a skate park that is targeted toward the demographic. So the survey we're putting is, you know, something we think so far it's popular. We anticipate to be popular, but intentionally we created it called other. So, you know, for example, skate park we didn't anticipate, but you know, if anybody want to see or something else like we can think about, if you want to put it in there, that will be tabulated as data as well. So, you know, please take the survey seriously. That's the way we can actually demonstrate it. Obviously, you're talking tonight, but you know, the survey is the way that you can see, you know, numerically how it gets tabulated. Thank you.
Okay, sir, yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abe Shuckman. My wife and I and our two boys have been in the neighborhood for 2 decades. And it's nice to say hello to you. We spoke on the phone. Very nice conversation. I appreciate that. I want to join with some of the other speakers in thanking you all for your hard work. $800,000 is a very significant amount. We know how hard that is to secure. I echo the theme that many people here discussed about the importance of if you will, maintaining what we have. So informally, a number of neighbors came up with a list that I think echo some of the things here. The importance of carrying out all required ADA compliance efforts. As you said, the importance of upgrading the trails, but not widening the trails. The importance of upgrading the basketball and tennis courts. In the D18 summary, they reference environmental restoration, certainly important. And they also reference retrofitting of stormwater management and treatment systems. And we look forward to learning more about that. The D18 summary says improve playability of the athletic fields. So when you and I spoke, I was actually surprised that the $800,000 is not to be for the soccer field, if I understood you correctly. And that's troubling to me, because I think that does count as improving the playability of the athletic field. I'd say of all of the fields and courts, the soccer field is in horrendous shape. And I've been around here long enough to know Parks made a great effort to try to reseed the soccer field some years ago. But it became quickly apparent, I think, to Parks and to everyone here, that it's more than a seeding issue. It's a grading issue and a drainage issue. And I think for many of the people I've spoken to, the soccer field would be of the highest priority in terms of maintaining what we have, so to speak. Installing seating areas, shade structure, bike racks, installing, and many people have talked about the trash, installing many, many more trash cans. And then we would look for a commitment for multiple days during the week pickup. Installing signage about the importance and legal requirement to have dogs on leashes. I'd echo the point earlier about bilingual signage. Preserve Parks installed trees near Paddington and southern portion of Lanier. Address drainage and safety issues along the culvert at the Tiny Tot Park near Quinton and Lanier. Remove dead, dying trees and invasive parasitic vines and weeds. I'd echo the point earlier about shade for the playground. I'd also echo, so I always try to go with what I'm for, but I also want to join in speaking about my concerns about a dog park. And many of the people I've spoken to, and I understand you receive feedback from people who are in favor of the dog park. And that in part motivates your proposal. But I would say that many of the people I've spoken to, maybe many of the people here, have grave concerns about a dog park. To echo Loretta's point, we think in such a high density, uniquely racially and economically diverse area, there's a real benefit to a certain oasis of peace and quiet that creates a certain calm and harmony that we all benefit from. And I don't believe a dog park would be conducive to enhancing or supporting that sense of harmony, quiet, and peace. I also think that there are alternatives to meet the needs of dog owners who would desire a close by dog park. I'm taking some photographs. This is down the hill by Candy King City. This is technically a pasture for horses. But if you go all the way down the road, and instead of taking a left into the parking area, you look to your right, that's what this is. I have never seen a horse in this pasture. And I'm trying to get back in shape, and I've been trying to walk every day. And I never see a horse. And there are multiple other horse stable and pasture areas. This is already fenced. This is ready to go. I wanted to share that. This is what many of us call the existing informal dog park, also down the hill. This is, if you go in the city over the bridge, there are 3 contiguous softball. Every day, dogs are running in this really effectively another dog park. And it's away from playgrounds, it's away from residentials, and it already exists, it effectively exists. And it's just a short 15-minute walk from here, 2-minute drive from here. And then third, also, this is off of Beach Drive, just a few, less than a mile past the informal dog park. It's a little parking area. You go to the little parking area again, about 100 feet. There's a vacant pasture. That's another hopefully positive alternative for you all. The last thing I'll say is that I think we all take great pride in creating a park that we all can benefit from and all the amenities we can benefit from. And I'm just troubled that the proposed dog park right here in this parking lot, a significant number of our community would not be able to participate. Only garden where dogs are not permitted. I just think from an equity standpoint, but just from an inclusive standpoint, I think we should strive to have all our choices be available to all of our residents.
Okay, so, Valerie, yes. So I just wanted to mention, something that hasn't been brought up. Sorry, which is the amount of wildlife here. And a dog park and increased amenities, noise from pickleball, how is that going to affect it? And we saw an eagle here last month. We have foxes. We have, I think, coyote now. Maybe not so desirable, but really there is, this is a wildlife conduit. And I think as we add noise, dogs, whatever, we should consider how that's going to affect what we see in our park. So their back row. He'll be next. Nope, there's lots of hands going up. So.
I reiterate just about everything everybody's been saying, except I want to talk about the continued maintenance that has to be put into that 800,000. Walking along, I guess it would be the west side of the park where the trees are separating the houses. There's poison ivy in all those trees. There's the kids from the soccer, the ball goes in there. They're going in there with the poison ivy. It's a continual problem. I was on some of the spring cleanups. I don't know if you ever did. Someone from the community, she organized the spring cleanup. I didn't go to it this year, but last year I went. You didn't, okay. Last year or the year before, one of the years I went, we had 6 to 7 bags of trash, all of the stuff in the bushes and everything along the edges. That is never, I have never seen the right here too. It's never been maintained. Part of it is one trash can and there's like 150 people, you know, at the soccer game. You got to put trash can, you got to put recycling. Why can't they recycle the bottle with the hole like they do at the school? So only a bottle can fit in. Those 2 or 3 by the soccer fields. And I agree there should be a little area where they can sit and maybe, I was thinking even I've seen people bring their own grills. And I was thinking maybe they've moved the picnic table under a tree. So the part where the picnic table is supposed to be the concrete, put a grill or 2 there. That would be okay. I mean, you know, I think that would be fine. That, I don't want to waste your time. I'm for the pickleball. And I've been playing here and it's wonderful. And also the bushes, and I've talked to them. There's a lot of weeds and things on the bushes around the building. And they said, well, the park is only responsible for that part. And the building has to do so it's like, I think there should be better communication between the rec people and the park people. I don't know how we're going to do that. Thank you.
Last. I'm Mary Ann McGowan. I live on Spencer Road. And I'd like to put in a request for that entrance from Spencer Road into the park. And I don't know if your light plan includes a light there, but for anyone coming in the evening to the park and walking from that direction, it's not a very, I think, safe because the bushes all get closed in and the pavement there is very, very uneven. So I think there has to be a better entrance into the park from there. Now that said, my other beef is that when we have big soccer games up here on Sunday, when people come with food and they're cooking, and people are coming from all around, that part of Spencer, the end of Spencer, becomes a parking. And I feel bad for the people in the house there because there'll be cars double parked there. There will be double parking in the park parking lot in front of the center. I don't know what's going on in the rear parking lot. But if you take 8 parking places away or 9, where are those 9 people going to go? Because when we do have a big event in the park, and that's every weekend when there's soccer games, where are these cars going to go? And so that's an issue that I've had on that end of Spencer. It's probably not the park's job. There may be a little signage there that says no double parking or no parking along the guardrail that is there, which people tend to do. I think I agree with a lot of what Abe said. When I had dogs, I would have loved to have a dog park. My dogs were not dog park dogs. However, I think when you have limited resources, I don't think we do have to be very careful how we use this. And the community garden, I'm not sure what that looks like, but again, with all of our nature and animals here, unless that's fenced in, I don't know that that will be very successful in the city. I'm sure everybody. Those are my comments, and thank you all for your attention.
There are 100 to 300 people here, soccer matches. So back up, I should say, 300 people. And most of there's no parking ever here.
However, if the semis go away on Lyttonsville Road, that would give plenty of parking, and everybody in the neighborhood is working on that. So if that happens, there will be space. You know, you may have to walk half a block, but there will be space.
We're going to take some online questions now again.
Yeah, thank you for the equity that we just wanted to share some of the comments online as well. Some of them say agree that a dog park is desperately needed in the area to allow a dog to go off leash. And someone was saying that also about the dog park, that the agree that dog park would be just bring more traffic to the park that is clearly already hitting its limits with the amount of sports events going on. There are plenty of existing dog park in the area. I think this park is an oasis for the residents to walk their dogs away from the busy atmosphere for a dog park. So something I just wanted to share that is that the some of you probably attended the meeting at the beginning for the Lyttonsville Future Neighborhood Park. That was supposed to be very historic, cultural resource oriented. So, I mean, there was an amazing idea coming up with the bridge and connect and all that. And at the time, there was pretty decent outcry about the dog park. So we were actually very concerned that like, that is absolutely not the place to provide a dog park. Our thought was, you know, to make sure that that park is preserved about cultural resource and history. So our way of response for that request was alternative this location because this is much bigger. So, but apparently we're hearing concerns about that as well. So that's why, I mean, you know, we're hearing both sides. Please, you know, tag along all your comment and thought, and that's why we need to hear both sides and different ideas and all that. So that's why we're here today. The other thing is there was comment also about that the boundary seems a little bit overly restricted to be able to fit in some of the amenities we're talking about. So just wanted to mention that. And then the lighting, I think one of the residents already mentioned about like the lighting from the road to access to enter in. That is something mentioned as a concern that potentially need to be improved. I just wanted to read the comment from.
Okay, thank you. More in-person comments. So you're in the back there.
Greg Tyson, I've lived here about 6 years. I think unlike some other people, I've used I use the basketball court like every week when the weather is nice, which is maybe half the year. So I like the ability to improve that. I actually do have concerns though about the lighting. Light pollution, not so good for wildlife, not so good for people maybe who are sleeping over there. It doesn't impact me, but the lights also would make me maybe play basketball, play it at 9 o'clock, but if at night, but then there's kids trying to sleep over there. They probably wouldn't like that. And I can appreciate that. And so I maybe wouldn't be as in favor of that. If we are increasing the amenities, I think we'll need to make sure we have resources associated with that, like bathrooms is a problem. People relieve themselves wherever they wish when there are no amenities. So there is I think, seasonal porta potty that sits out here, it disappears during, once the fields are maybe closed or something like that, but people still go where they may. And the trash, of course, is an issue. You talked about valuing data. Maybe it's my own vanity to keep track of this, but I picked up 816 recyclables last year from this park. So if you notice, there was a lot of, bottles by the soccer field, and later they weren't there. That might have been me. And thousands of pieces of trash. I don't keep track of that. I don't know why I keep track of it, but I do. So that is something that, and that's a non-county employee, because I think one time in the last 3 years have I ever seen them picking up trash. It's just not a thing that happens. And so if I see the playground is filled with trash, I do my civic duty. I've never complained before because I feel like if I have power to do something about it, I should. But wanted to share that. That's it for me. Thank you.
In the middle there, the scarf.
I will keep this brief. I just have one quick question and one quick comment. So you said you're going to be doing this online poll or survey. I was curious, will you be getting information where people live who are taking the survey, like where they live in relation to the park? Because it'd be really nice to have a breakdown of data of like what percentage of people want things and whether they actually live close to the park or not. I live in North Woodside on the other side of the bridge, so I'm within a half a mile of the park. And when the bridge was open, I did come to the park quite frequently with my young children and haven't been able to come for many years. I mean, you have to walk a mile out of your way and they've grown up. So I don't know how much they'll actually be using the playgrounds once the bridge opens again. But that was a big draw for me when I had young children. And so I just wanted to, again, reinforce what a couple other people have mentioned, that you haven't mentioned the playgrounds, that they are a big draw for families with young children and children of different ages. And it'll be a pretty quick fix and probably not cost a lot of money, but I know like the playground for younger children, I just walked by it the other day and it is a little shadier, but then one half of it is like full bright sun where the swings are. And I know that the playground over here could use a bit more shade. And I live in I am within walking distance or anything, but I personally really defer to the residents of Lyttonsville and Rosemary Hills for the specifics. I haven't heard much about the community garden the community garden idea. I personally think that's a nice idea, and it probably would just attract people during the day and not at night, and to not be a loud thing. It could be something that connects neighbors. And I'm wondering, but it would be interesting to maybe survey people, some of the people in nearby apartments who don't have their own land to garden, if that might be an amenity that they would want. And I'm not sure how many people in the audience are from Friendly Gardens or some of the apartment buildings or condos. But again, I defer to the residents who live closest to the park, but that sounds like a nice idea in terms of, growing plants, but also growing community and people meeting up. And but like someone else has said, it would probably need to be closed in because of the wildlife and other reasons. So thank you very much.
Yes, up here in the front, Mr. Green shirt.
Let me take a different tack here. I applaud your idea of reconfiguring the parking lot as a way of getting useful space in the park. So I hope you pursue that. As somebody noted here, there is a lot of parking on Lyttonsville Road as we go out towards Rosemary. And if that could be freed up from the semis and things, that would provide a lot of space for people to park. I don't know if you've done any studies on the parking. It'd be nice to see some data about how much parking is used and what the maximum use is. That would help us determine how big the parking lot needs to be. That area down on Lyttonsville Road is difficult to park, not only because there are semis parked there, but the park has overgrown the sidewalk, so it's kind of forbidding to walk down in that area. So cleaning that up might be kind of. That leads to the final thing. We've talked about dog parks. I don't really favor a dog park, but two possible other areas. There is that dog lane that goes down on Lyttonsville Road there that might have space for a dog park from this perspective on the left, which is a natural area right now, kind of boggy, but perhaps the dog park fit in there. But more importantly, on the other side of the street is WSSC. I know that's not your property, but they have a front lawn that I think is more than sufficient for a dog park, parking right in front of it. And if people wanted to, walk just another 100 yards here, they could get to that area, and it might provide a spot for our neighbors with dogs who run.
And so we learned also that Delegate Solomon is online and listening to your comments the same way we are. He was one of the people responsible for getting the $800,000 grant. So he's listening as well. Question in red?
Yeah. In concert with those that are concerned, in concert with those that are concerned with the amount of people that would come to the park, I also want to know whether you all are considering the purple line. We have a station right here, and that's going to bring a lot of us will be able to use that as an amenity, but it also will bring a lot of people here. So there's already a lot going on without adding a lot more to this park. So, thank you.
Good point. And I wanted to let you all know that as far as understanding the parking, we do have some cameras that are taking pictures of the parking lot about every 15 minutes. So we will be analyzing that data, and we'll be providing to you all what we find out as well. Any more questions? Yes, please come up.
Hi, my name's Linda. I live on Sundale for about a little more than 30 years. I love living in this area with this park. It was the main reason to actually buy a house in Rosemary Hills. I'm a tennis player here, regular tennis player, and I would say about amenities like the basketball courts, the tennis courts. They're used quite a bit, just probably not when you're visiting. Like last night, I was driving by and, there are like 7 people playing on, both tennis courts. And let's say I tend to play during the day, some people play to come after work. So it's all used. Just same with the soccer fields, baseball, you see fathers throwing the ball, coaches. The whole park is used. I'm a regular walker here, and I want to also agree with there's a tranquility to just going through this park just because of the way it is, just special. I forgot to start with thanking Delegate Solomon and the rest of the delegates who made this possible, and to the Parks Department for taking an interest, putting this on the list, because the tennis courts have needed to be resurfaced for a number of years. They're playable, but for Wealthy County, I don't know why they haven't been done yet, and actually there should be a budget. In theory, you have to take from that tennis court surfacing budget for this 800,000, when you think of it that way. In listening to your proposal, a lot of it seems to be adding to the courts and what can be played on the courts, understand correctly, but not really as much emphasis as I think we'd like on making sure everything that already exists, including the playgrounds, is brought up to where it should be, looking new. And I know you know that that little bridge that goes over the culvert needs to be built. And the culvert itself, the way it's planted, it could be beautiful to look at, but now it looks unstructured too much. It's part of it. Which brings me to benches. At the beach, you can change, at some of the beaches, you can change which way a bench faces by just moving the backrest. And I think it's worth a test because it's fun. In some cases, people might want to look down the hill or at that area by the little park where there is all this growing and all these plants in the culvert, because there should be birds and things to look at. So that's just something easy to test. And in terms of the soccer field, that should really be a high priority. You guys don't have it on this list, but it is used a lot. And people do tend, when they're practicing, they're playing right by the goals. And then if you come here on a Tuesday night right now, there's so much going on. There's soccer everywhere, and kids running around and paved part, and they're running laps. And it's really fun to see. And then kids riding bikes. All the time you'll see parents and strollers. So it's used throughout the day. And so in terms of courts, it sounds that, you know, if you're going to increase the amount of courts, you have to be concerned where you put them. The basketball courts, if you notice, are set back. They used to be right along the street, and there was a drug problem, a hanging out problem. So they purposefully moved them back a ways. And community gardens, I think it would be interesting if you all spoke to the property managers at the surrounding communities. And maybe if they took an interest, I think maybe the residents, and getting them started with community gardens, because you would know how to plant them, and you know, the Parks Department and their property managers. But Rollingwood has a whole, you know, that could be terraced, that huge hill coming down from Rollingwood. I'm just saying, you know, over 1,000 people lives within those properties, and they do have some extra land. And I think if they would be interested in that, I think that would be something worth testing. Because community gardens also need to be maintenance, but also they're growing edible food. People who live in a single family homes, many people do have gardens already. So I don't know, I'm just throwing that out as a, but again, we'll all be putting in comments, but I want to thank you for your presentation. And the other thing I wanted to ask for is we want to do our own studying too. So if you could give us addresses of parks you've already done, so we can visit them. And I think that'd be really helpful to us. And, you know, with new courts and amenities and anything else you can think of. And the other thing I think is the time frame to go from June 3rd to June 4th isn't giving us much time to just see what's working where you've done parks before. And those are my comments. Thank you very much.
So how are we? We're at time.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's 8:30. Thank you all.